US President-elect Donald Trump set to take over in just next few days. However, he's made his agenda very clear. It's controversial, to say the least, and it has led to a full-on debate, and not just with domestic politics in the USA, but even from the neighbor nation of Canada. Trump has made, for example, a proposal, which is to rename the Gulf of Mexico, as all of us know it, and to say it should be Gulf of America. He's also mentioned that America needs Panama and Greenland for economic security, and because most of the work is done by America in these zones, why shouldn't it be either a part of America or named after that? The president-elect refusing to even rule out use of military force if required to take control of these two. Trump is also not shying away from foreign policy decisions, and that specifically with Canada is raising concerns, saying that with Canada, he may use economic force as well to address issues. Also, apart from all of this, remember that America has been a staunch supporter of Israel. It believes they're fighting terrorism. Addressing the Hamas attack of 7th October, from Hamas that attacked the Israelis, Trump has expressed outrage on that and has said, if the hostages, the Israeli hostages, in fact, I would say multi-ethnicity and multinational hostages who were taken away by the Hamas extremists, Trump says if they're not released by the time he takes over, all hell will break loose. He's also spoken up on possible pardon for the Capitol attack writers. Here's more on what he has said on a variety of issues.
We need them for economic security. The Panama Canal was built for our military. I'm not going to commit to that now. It might be that you'll have to do something. Look, the Panama Canal is vital to our country. It's being operated by China. China. And we gave the Panama Canal to Panama. We didn't give it to China. And they've abused it. They've abused that gift. It should have never been made, by the way. Giving the Panama Canal is why Jimmy Carter lost the election, in my opinion, more so maybe than the hostages. The hostages were a big deal. Economic force. Because Canada and the United States, that would really be something. You get rid of that artificially drawn line, and you take a look at what that looks like. And it would also be much better for national security. Don't forget, we basically protect Canada. And as you see, I guess 24 or 28 people came now from the FBI. That came out very quietly. Nobody reported it, but they had people in some form related to the FBI. They had 4 or 5 people that were strongly related to the FBI. We have to find out about that. We have to find out about Hezbollah. We have to find out about who exactly was in that whole thing, because people that did some bad things were not prosecuted. You know, I see it all the time, and you see it too. People that were doing some bad things weren't prosecuted, and people that didn't even walk into the building are in jail right now. So we'll be looking at the whole thing, but I'll be making major pardons. All hell will break out. If those hostages aren't back, I don't want to hurt your negotiation. If they're not back by the time I get into office, all hell will break out in the Middle East. And it will not be good for Hamas, and it will not be good, frankly, for anyone. All hell will break out. I don't have to say anymore, but that's what it is. And they should have given them back a long time. They should have never taken them. There should have never been the attack of October 7th. People forget that. And we're going to be announcing at a future date pretty soon. We're going to change, because we do most of the work there and it's ours. We're going to be changing, sort of the opposite of Biden, where he's closing everything up, essentially getting rid of $50 to $60 trillion worth of assets. We're going to be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America, which has a beautiful ring that covers a lot of territory. The Gulf of America, what a beautiful name. And it's appropriate. It's appropriate.
Also remember, it's not just about what Donald Trump says, but it's about, for example, what he says about Panama or Canada, where those leaders and what their views are currently. Panama's foreign minister reaffirming the country's steadfast control over the canal, despite what they're saying are threats from the United States of America's president-elect of potential military, economic intervention or more. So here's what other countries' leaders have to say.
La soberanía de nuestro canal no es negociable y es parte de nuestra historia de lucha y una conquista irreversible. Nuestro canal tiene la misión de servir a la humanidad y su comercio. Ese es uno de los grandes valores que los panameños ofrecemos al mundo, dándole garantía a la comunidad internacional de no tomar parte ni ser parte activa en conflicto alguno. Las únicas manos que controlan el canal son panameñas y así seguirá siendo. Somos un país abierto al diálogo, hoy y siempre, a las inversiones y a las buenas relaciones, pero con la clara consigna que la patria está en primer lugar.
Gaurav Sawant continues to be with us on this morning telecast on the First Up. Gaurav, tell me this, because, you know, it's Donald Trump after all. He likes to play with controversies. He's very direct and forthright, and he's making his agenda clear. He's not beating around the bush. How do you think this will proceed here on as and when he takes over? It's not going to be that easy, I believe.
Well, this is his second term, of course, after a gap of 4 years. But in the second term, he wants to leave a legacy. His plank for being re-elected is Make America Great Again. And America cannot be great if it's being challenged by China in its own backyard. So the Panama Canal is something he's very serious about. And everything that he's talking about, it's not just, you know, a jibe at Canada when he says Canada should become the 51st state. So very clearly, Canada is not becoming America's 51st state. At the same time, he wants Canada to invest much more in its security. He doesn't want China and Russia to be in those waters, and especially the Arctic polar region. For the past several years, the world has been grappling with what will happen in that Arctic region, especially in the past 50 years. The polar ice, according to reports, has melted almost 50%. So there's new territory that's emerging. There are thousands of, new areas, square kilometers of new areas. There are islands that are there. 200 nautical miles from every coastline is their exclusive economic zone and territorial waters. But what about beyond that? 13% of the world's untapped oil, 30% of the world's untapped gas is in that Arctic polar region. China is already talking about a polar Silk Route. Russia is already setting up military bases in the region. America, as many argue, is late to the party. They're now trying to catch up. So when he talks about Greenland, there's a motive there. When he talks about Canada, there's a motive there. He wants those. He wants perhaps to set up more military bases in that area. He doesn't, as he himself said, when it comes to the Panama Canal, why should the Chinese be operating it? China is investing very heavily in Panama. Perhaps this is one of the largest trading partners. He wants to change all of that, and that's the only way he thinks he can make America great again. So these are all bargaining chips in his hand. He's a deal maker. So his mergers and acquisition and all of this is just a bargaining chip to ensure that he's able to get the maximum possible concessions for America once he comes into the White House.
He's, after all, has been a top businessman for the United States of America. He understands what it means when there is a certain bargaining to be done, and this time, geopolitically as well.